Chapter 1: The Foolish Bargain. Long ago, in the vibrant bazaars of ancient Persia, the air was thick with the aroma of spices, the clamor of merchants advertising their wares, and the laughter of children running between market stalls. Among the throng of traders, there was a man named Hamid. Known throughout the city, Hamid had built a reputation as a shrewd merchant with an unmatched ability to turn even the smallest deal to his advantage. His sharp tongue and quick mind made him feared by his peers and admired by aspiring traders. Hamid's philosophy was simple: never miss an opportunity to profit, no matter the cost to others. While his wealth grew steadily, his reputation for fairness diminished. Whispers spread among the townsfolk about the many he had outwitted in trade. Some called him clever, while others called him cruel, but Hamid cared for neither praise nor criticism. To him, life was a game of transactions, and he intended to win. One sunlit morning, as Hamid strolled through the market inspecting potential bargains, his keen eye caught sight of a peculiar yet beautiful brass lamp on a small cloth laid out by a poor vendor. The lamp gleamed faintly under the sunlight, its ornate designs hinting at expert craftsmanship. Beside the lamp sat a man named Karim, whose worn clothes and weary face spoke of hardship. Hamid, intrigued, approached. "What do we have here?" he asked, picking up the lamp. It felt heavier than it looked, and its intricate engravings hinted at a story untold. Karim looked up, his tired eyes meeting Hamid's curious gaze. "It's an old brass lamp," he said quietly. "A family heirloom, but it holds no use for me. I am selling it to buy food for my children." Hamid raised an eyebrow, skeptical. He turned the lamp over in his hands, inspecting it from every angle. The craftsmanship was undeniably remarkable, but what truly piqued his interest was the way Karim spoke of the lamp. There was a trace of hesitation, almost as if parting with it carried a deeper weight. "Why sell something so exquisite for so little?" Hamid pressed, his voice dripping with suspicion. Karim sighed deeply, his shoulders slumping. "Life has left me no choice. My family hasn't eaten in days. A lamp, no matter how fine, cannot fill empty stomachs." Hamid's mind raced. The lamp was clearly worth far more than Karim's asking price. He smelled an opportunity, one of those rare moments that separated ordinary merchants from the truly cunning. Feigning disinterest, Hamid placed the lamp back on the cloth. "It's hardly worth anything," he said dismissively. "Perhaps a collector might find it appealing, but in the end, it's just brass." He paused, letting Karim feel the weight of his words before delivering his offer. "I'll take it off your hands for a few copper coins. That's more than anyone else would pay." Karim's face fell. He looked down at the lamp, his fingers brushing over its intricate patterns. It had been in his family for generations, passed down as a symbol of resilience and hope. But hope alone could not feed his children. Reluctantly, he nodded and handed the lamp to Hamid. Hamid, unable to suppress a sly grin, dropped a handful of copper coins into Karim's trembling hand. "A fair deal," Hamid declared, turning to leave. As he walked away, he heard Karim murmur a quiet prayer under his breath, a prayer not of gratitude, but of sorrow. That evening, Hamid returned to his lavish home, setting the lamp on a table. He chuckled to himself, proud of his cleverness. "A fool and his treasure are soon parted," he muttered. But as he sat there, sipping tea and admiring the lamp's craftsmanship, a thought struck him. What if it were worth more than he realized? Unable to resist his curiosity, Hamid fetched a cloth and began polishing the lamp. As he rubbed the surface, the air around him began to hum. Suddenly, a gust of wind swirled through the room, extinguishing the lamps and candles. Hamid stumbled back, dropping the brass lamp as a cloud of smoke erupted from its spout. The smoke coalesced into a towering figure, a djinn with glowing eyes and an aura of immense power. Hamid's heart raced, equal parts terror and exhilaration. "Master," the djinn intoned, its deep voice reverberating through the room. "You have freed me from the confines of the lamp. In gratitude, I grant you 3 wishes. Use them wisely, for they may shape your destiny." Hamid's fear gave way to greed. 3 wishes? The possibilities were endless. His mind raced, imagining himself draped in gold, ruling empires, his name spoken in reverence across the world. Riches, power, glory, he could have it all. "I'll need time to think," Hamid said, his voice trembling with excitement. The djinn nodded and faded back into the lamp, waiting to be summoned again. As Hamid lay in bed that night, his thoughts swirled with plans for his newfound power. But amid his grand schemes, one thought never crossed his mind: to wish for wisdom, to understand the consequences of his desires. Unbeknownst to him, his cunning had led him into a bargain far more complex than he had ever encountered, and one that would test him in ways he could never anticipate. Chapter 2: The Price of Greed. Hamid awoke the morning after freeing the djinn with a sense of exhilaration. He had spent the night envisioning his transformation from a mere merchant to the most powerful man in the world. His heart raced as he rubbed the brass lamp, summoning the djinn from its smoky prison. The room filled with a dense mist, and the towering figure of the djinn materialized, its glowing eyes fixed on Hamid. "Master," the djinn said in its deep, resonant voice, "speak your wish, and it shall be granted." Hamid didn't hesitate. "Gold," he declared, his voice trembling with excitement. "I wish for endless gold, enough to make me the wealthiest man alive." The djinn bowed its head, and the air shimmered. Suddenly, a deafening sound filled the room as mountains of gold coins materialized in Hamid's courtyard. The sunlight streaming through the windows reflected off the glittering piles, casting a golden glow across his walls. Hamid's eyes widened as he rushed outside, his feet sinking into the sea of wealth. He laughed, scooping handfuls of coins and letting them fall through his fingers like water. "I've done it," he cried. "I am the richest man in the world." But his celebration was short-lived. A loud commotion erupted as curious neighbors peered over the walls of his courtyard, their eyes widening at the unimaginable sight. Whispers turned to shouts, and soon, a crowd gathered. Some begged for a share, claiming they had lent Hamid money in the past. Others simply demanded it, their eyes filled with greed. The noise grew louder, attracting the attention of soldiers stationed nearby. Believing Hamid must have stolen from the royal treasury, they stormed his gates, swords drawn. "Surrender the gold," their captain barked, "or face the consequences." Panicked, Hamid fled back inside, clutching the lamp. The reality of his wealth had turned into a nightmare. As the mob outside clamored for his riches, he rubbed the lamp frantically. The djinn appeared once more. "What is your second wish, master?" Hamid gasped, "Take me away from here. I wish for a grand palace, far from this chaos, where no one can disturb me." The djinn nodded, and in the blink of an eye, Hamid found himself standing in the center of a vast, opulent palace. Golden chandeliers hung from ceilings painted with intricate murals. Marble floors gleamed beneath his feet, and towering windows offered sweeping views of a lush mountain valley. It was everything he had imagined, luxurious, secluded, and untouchable. At first, Hamid marveled at his surroundings. He roamed the endless halls, admiring the priceless tapestries and ornate furnishings. For the first time, he felt secure, free from the prying eyes and demands of others. But as the days turned to weeks, Hamid began to notice the emptiness of his palace. The echo of his footsteps on the marble floors grew deafening. There were no servants to prepare meals or tend to the upkeep of the grand estate. His stores of food dwindled, and the isolation gnawed at him. Hamid tried to find solace in his riches, but the gold coins he had brought with him felt meaningless without anyone to share them with. The silence became unbearable, and loneliness wrapped around him like a suffocating shroud. One evening, as the sun set behind the mountains, painting the sky in hues of gold and crimson, Hamid sat alone in the grand dining hall. His reflection stared back at him from the polished surface of the empty table. The grandeur that had once filled him with pride now seemed hollow. Desperation gripped him. He fetched the lamp, summoning the djinn for what he knew would be his final wish. The djinn appeared, its expression unreadable. "Master, what is your third wish?" Hamid's voice quivered. "Bring me lasting happiness," he commanded. "I want to feel joy and contentment that will never fade." The djinn's glowing eyes softened, and for a moment, it seemed to hesitate. Then, with a knowing smile, it said, "As you wish." But instead of granting the wish, the djinn dissolved into smoke, and the lamp vanished from Hamid's hands. Hamid's heart sank as he realized the truth: the djinn had left him. The wealth, the palace, and his wishes had all been for nothing. Hamid wandered through the empty halls of his palace, the weight of his greed pressing down on him. He had sought happiness in riches and power, but they had brought him only isolation and despair. With no one to share his life or his fortune, he understood, at last, the folly of his desires. He sat by the grand window overlooking the valley, watching the stars emerge in the night sky. As silence enveloped him once more, a single tear slid down his cheek. The djinn had given him exactly what he deserved, a chance to reflect on the true cost of his greed. Chapter 3: Karim's Reward. As Hamid struggled with the consequences of his greed, Karim's life took a different path. After parting with the brass lamp, Karim returned to his modest home, where his wife and children waited anxiously. The few copper coins he had earned from selling the lamp were enough to buy a small meal, which he shared joyfully with his family. Despite their humble circumstances, Karim's household was filled with warmth and laughter. Karim was a man of faith and kindness. His neighbors, inspired by his good nature, often lent him a helping hand. One of his closest friends, an elderly blacksmith named Farid, saw Karim's potential and suggested he start a workshop. "You have a gift for crafting, Karim," Farid said. "Why not make lamps and other wares to sell?" With Farid's encouragement, Karim set to work. His first project was a simple brass lamp, similar to the one he had sold to Hamid. Though crude at first, Karim poured his heart into his work. Word of his dedication and humility spread, and soon the villagers began to take notice. Karim's lamps are not only beautiful but made with honest labor, they would say. He deserves our support. His small workshop grew steadily. A wealthy traveler passing through the village noticed Karim's skill and purchased several lamps. "These are exquisite," the traveler remarked. "I'll tell everyone I meet about your craftsmanship." The traveler kept his word. Over the years, Karim's reputation spread far and wide. Merchants from distant cities sought his lamps, willing to pay generous prices. Yet, despite his growing fortune, Karim remained grounded. He expanded his workshop, employing young men from the village who needed work. He also used his earnings to improve the community, funding the repair of the village well and donating to families in need. True wealth, Karim often said, is not what you have in your pockets, but what you have in your heart. Years passed, and Karim's name became synonymous with integrity and generosity. One day, as he tended to his workshop, a frail figure appeared at the door. Karim squinted, recognizing the familiar face of Hamid, the merchant who had once taken advantage of him. Hamid was no longer the proud and cunning man Karim remembered. His luxurious robes were replaced with tattered clothes, his once sharp eyes dull with regret. Hamid looked weary, as if he had carried the weight of the world on his shoulders. Karim set down his tools and approached Hamid with a warm smile. "Welcome, friend," he said. "You look like you've traveled far. Come, sit and rest." Hamid hesitated, guilt evident in his posture. "Why would you help me?" he asked. "I wronged you years ago, and I gained nothing from it. Yet here you are, living a life of prosperity and peace. Why show kindness to someone like me?" Karim motioned for Hamid to sit on a stool near the hearth, where a pot of stew simmered. "Because kindness is not about what others deserve," he said. "It's about what we choose to give. When I sold you that lamp, I did so out of necessity, not bitterness. And in parting with it, I found a path to true contentment. The lamp gave you riches, but took away your peace. It left me with nothing material, but gave me everything that matters: honesty, community, and gratitude." Hamid's eyes filled with tears as he listened. "You are a better man than I ever was," he whispered. "I spent my life chasing gold, power, and glory, only to lose everything. You, with your humble heart, found what I could never grasp." Karim placed a bowl of stew before Hamid and said gently, "The lesson was always there, Hamid. It is not too late to learn it. Wealth and power come and go, but the kindness we show and the lives we touch endure far longer than gold." Hamid broke down, sobbing into his hands. Years of regret and sorrow poured out in those moments. Karim, ever patient, sat beside him, offering the simple comfort of his presence. In the weeks that followed, Karim allowed Hamid to stay in the village. He taught the once proud merchant the art of lamp making, offering him a chance to rebuild his life with honest work. Though Hamid's hands were clumsy at first, he found satisfaction in creating something of value. Through his work and the companionship of the villagers, Hamid began to understand the wisdom in Karim's words. He no longer longed for riches or power, but sought to live a life of meaning. Karim's kindness had not only given Hamid a second chance, but also solidified the lesson both men had learned: true wealth lies not in gold or possessions, but in the generosity of the spirit and the love we share with others. And so, the story of Karim and Hamid became a cherished tale, passed down through generations as a reminder of the enduring power of kindness and humility. It was a lesson that echoed far beyond their village, inspiring those who heard it to seek what truly matters in life.